Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Unintentional Porn Star podcast with Hannah Taylor.
Hello. We're here.
We are here. So, Hannah, I brought you in today.
It's not like we live together or anything.
No, Hannah, I shipped you in today.
I came from up downstairs.
I brought you in a shipping container that's really impressive. From the downstairs. And the reason I spent so much money getting the shipping container out here was to talk about dating. Ooh. And exactly. So, okay. So you and I are what, like 13 years difference?
Yeah, we are.
And yet I feel like in our worlds and like what we're going through, we're kind of experiencing similar things. And I might also be because I'm going for some young gentlemen sometimes, but at the same time, I'm also dealing with people my age and older too. And I wanted to talk to you about your experience in dating and like within, not necessarily like pop culture, but like, what did you say the other day? You said, like the dating culture. What did you call it? Did you call it
hookup culture?
Yeah. Hookup culture. Yeah. Because I would say that within my story, it's obviously pretty known that like I have no problem hooking up with people. And I see it as explorative if you're safe and you're having conversation. And then we've been talking a lot about hookup culture, which I didn't remember what it was called. But it does seem like things are getting a little bit less deep and less like lovey-dovey.
I completely agree with you.
So I guess I wanted to ask first, like, I guess, how would you define the hookup culture? Or like, what's your experience around the hookup culture right now?
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
I would define it. I feel like I've only known hookup culture in real life. I feel like any time that I've experienced anything else, it's been in content or movies and TV shows. But I feel like in my personal life, all I've ever been or experienced has been like the hookup culture. And and I feel like that's been, I think a lot of my friends too and everybody, and I think we're definitely going in a more casual regard where even, you know, the notion of like the 70s and how they were about casual sex and all these things, but also still promoting love and emotion and feelings, where I feel like now it's like this cut off separate thing of like, no, it's just a hookup culture. And then it's so hard to navigate any relationship in that regard.
Yeah. I mean, when I was in my early 20s, I was traveling around. I was like in Australia and Europe and meeting all these people. And like, ultimately, when you're traveling, you're in that hookup culture. But there was like love, there was like depth. Like I had so many deep romances where we would continue talking and be like, we should get married. And of course, single, we didn't. And thank goodness. But like, you know, I feel like when you talk about your experiences, when I'm dealing with my experiences right now, I'm literally going like, does nobody feel anything anymore? Like, what? Like you have to open your heart. It takes an open heart to be able to enter into relation. But I feel like this hookup culture, relation is not even a word. It's literally like, let's bone and fucking, and that's it.
Really, yeah, I agree with you. I think too, if anything, it's weirder when you include emotions in it, or people are like, no, keep that off, or like you're like the crazy one, or like, oh, she got weird or whatever, because you actually brought emotion into it. So it's this hard dynamic of like, I don't as a person want to engage with somebody and not be, you know, have emotion attached. But then it's like when you do, it never turns into anything because they're like, oh, like that's not how it goes.
Right, like that's not cool or something.
Yeah, it's like the unspoken rule of it, like it just has to be like cool and fine and like whatever and easygoing.
Which is like sometimes it calls for that.
For sure.
But at the same time, as much as it sometimes it calls for it, like, hey, one night stand from a bar, like you go, good day, see you later. Like, sure, that's great. But when you're hooking up with someone more than once, like you're dealing with humans, you're dealing with like real live people who obviously are like A, going through life, B, have feelings and emotions, because that's what we are as humans. We're feelings beings. And to like disregard that just feels like, huh? Like, do you think you're dealing with an animal right now? Or like, you know, like, are you real? Do you think I'm real? Like, I'm real. You're real. Like, this is, even if we're not in a relationship, like, can we not have discord? Can we not talk about things? Can we not yeah, connect. And like people, I feel like people are so scared of connection is what I think it's like stemming from, is this quick culture of flip, like every, like on TikTok, like I'm on it. Like, it's not just, it's not just our generation, it's all of us right now. And it's like, we have this whole thing about quick satisfaction and ease. And if you don't like it, well, you go to the next thing. And that's great, because ultimately what that does in a positive way is it surrounds you with things that you only like, right? But then when it comes down to having any type of either hookup or relationship or friendship, even, it's like, that takes work. Like any relationship takes work. And even if you're just fucking somebody, like it does take some care. Like you're going through triggers. Sex is like one of the most powerful emotions. And so like, I don't know, when you're having sex with someone, like things are gonna come up, and we all have our own experiences, especially around sex and dating and love and like the romance. Like we were just watching Twilight, right? Like, and Disney, and there's all these things about love and like our ideals that we think and that we know our love is. And then like it just feels like quick, easy, disconnected, and like cold. And it feels like it's doing a disservice to everyone, is what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Do you feel that?
Yeah. And I also feel like it's set on traditional like gender roles, and even like the conversation of like masculinity and femininity. I feel like a lot of how we experience love these days, or like the hookup culture, is fulfilled by that.
Yeah.
And because I think a lot of like in, heterosexual dating, a lot of that's a stereotype that you just go along with, or like you fill the roles and it goes like that. And I feel like that's also a problem as to why this is sustaining, because I feel like, especially too with like the conversation of masculinity, of men always feeling like they have to like subdue their emotions and that kind of stuff, then it's like you have these men who are going into these scenarios being like, oh, this is totally fine for me because I'm used to keeping all this down. And then it's like it just creates this whole mess. And so
it's so interesting to me having somebody like in a different generation experiencing a similar thing. Like, I mean, okay, from my time, things have shifted. Like there's definitely more like feminism and empowerment for men and women involved, and humans, I'd say, nowadays, but it's like, it's still the same conversation. And to me, that blows my mind. Like it just blows my mind that the whole difference between being a man and a woman. And like, first of all, it's not just man, woman anymore. Right. But it really does like stem from that. And it still is so capitalized on in these relationships and in life, these like masculine, feminine, and it is that, but it's also like, there's so much more to it. And it just blows my mind that we're still having these conversations, and that there's not space for men to be humans and have feelings. And there's not space for people, because I don't even want to put this man, woman, I want to put this as human things, like for people, women or whoever, to have these things come up that they need to talk through. And like, it doesn't mean, I was just dating someone and I had something come up, and I'm always very honest, like always. I'm like, I'm going through some things right now. I'm learning how to trust people again. Like things are going to come up. And if we're going to be fucking, like that's something that, you're kind of going to have to accept or not. Like you either accept that, or I'm just not going to do this with you. And so then when it came down to it, and when I was like, okay, I've been dealing with this with myself, and this has to do with the other person. So I was going to I brought it up. And his response was like, we're not dating. Like, what did he say? Something like, we're not dating. I don't need to be having this conversation with you. And I was like, oh, I see who I'm talking to. A fuck boy. Like, oh, here's this culture of like, this is like too much. And it was literally something like, I don't even remember. It was something like, I needed like a hug after sex or something, as an example. Like so easy, right? Like so easy, so simple. But that's something that I'm learning as a person, and I'm a woman, as a woman, to like communicate my needs and like get the pleasure that I want and need from a situation, whether that be a physical affection or like getting me to an orgasm or whatever, right? It's like, I want to vocalize what I want because it's also in my hands. But then when it's not received, like, I don't care anymore. Like for me, I'm like, it doesn't hurt my feelings. But if I was younger and that happened, I would have been like, oh my gosh, I can't say it anymore. And it's like, I know that's not true anymore, but it's like, what the fuck? Like, and I remember just responding back being like, wow. Like, and I said, like, when you're ready to have like a mature conversation about what's happening right now, like these people create more mess too. Like,
Yeah.
and not avoiding it, like avoidance is like, it creates more mess, it creates more drama. So when people say, I don't want any drama, I'm like, do you not think that you might be the source if you keep having drama in your life? Like,
right. Well, you can't say that drama is just the basic human communication, or like wanting to talk about things or having difficult conversations. That's not acceptable. And I feel like that's what it's become, is like the basic human needs of somebody is too much.
right.
And it's crazy. I've given up on it at this point. Like at this point in my life, I'm like, it's too hard to actually try and find somebody who doesn't just want something casual. Or like a lot of times too nowadays, it's like you have to step into casual scenarios to get any type of relationship. There's not even people who are like, or there's a slim, you rarely find anybody who's willing to like actually go on dates or like do anything that's slightly traditional, I guess, in any sense, which is seen to be like not cool anymore, you know?
Right.
Which is then disgusting, because it's like, it's not even a far-fetched concept, you know?
It's getting to know someone. Like, even when you meet a stranger, like there's so much pressure on romantic relationships when it's like, are we not just building relation? Are we not just like seeing if we want to have sex together, or if we want to build something together? Like, can we see what this relationship could potentially be without like throwing us into the hookup culture of having to have sex before you push them away, right? It's like, no, like any type of relationship, like, I don't know, I just think it's so disrespectful to like not only like people, but like the people doing it themselves. I think it's just so disrespectful.
Right.
Because like, you're right, it's just like these basic human needs, like communication and being heard is like a basic human need. And it's like, oh my God, it's too much. And it's
right.
Like,
well, then it's hard to step into those spaces, I find. And it's like, who am I in this environment? You know, if I can't say the thing I want or whatever, then it's like, I'm just like, I don't know, like just a shy version of myself. Because what else? You can't show up as yourself and be in love like that. So
yeah, it's not like a safe
tricky
space for you to enter in as yourself to see what the fuck, like to see what's actually there.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. I think like, you know, we're both single, and I admire how sometimes you're just like, I have no patience. You know, I'm still like swiping and doing these things, and it's like swiping through all of that is so much energy. Like, it's like, and I've gotten rid of so many apps now because I'm just like, I'm swiping through that, and I don't want to give an ounce of my energy towards that. Like, even right now I'm looking for partnership, and I think you're like possibly honest. Well, sometimes you talk about, you're like, I just want to fuck that guy, you know? So like, same here, but like, you know, it's like, it's something I look up to in you, is because you're just like, I just know I'm not like, this is wasting my energy. This is wasting my time. And it's like always a delicate balance too, of like meeting new people. Like, you just want to meet people, you want to meet people, you want to do things, but it's like, yeah, I'm not going to waste my time. And I find on those apps, I'm like, it's draining. And it's like, who am I dealing with here? Hookup culture and kind of a bunch of assholes. And then hookup culture in the young. And then for me, in the older, I deal with misogynistic, sexist people. And I'm like, fuck, like my mom was like, hey, how's your dating life? I'm like, how are you supposed to, like, awful, like, how are you supposed to find any conscious human being right now?
Right. Well, then it's also like the other argument of, when you have all that access to all those people, then you just have too many options. And then you're like, well, I could find something better. Like this one thing I don't like about somebody. Oh, cool. Like I'll just find somebody who has that or whatever, which is honestly just unrealistic. So it's like these expectations of finding this like 100% perfect person that you're going to get along with. And it's like, that's not realistic, but you think it could be because you see all these different people presented in front of you, and you're like, well, maybe they're that. And then maybe they're that. So it's also just everyone's just dating everybody, but then not actually dating, and then ghosting, and then doing all these things, and it's
so toxic. It's
like
a
mess.
cyclone.
It's a mess. Well, then it's like, how do you actually, without social media though, how do you actually meet anybody?
Well, that's the thing, is like, and that's I feel like also partly where the world is shifting, and whether that's generational or not, is like, do people actually go out anymore? Like, I find myself like succumbing to my phone and TikTok and meeting people online as well, because I'm just like, I have no patience to go meet people outside, because it's just the same thing but worse. But like, I find that there's, I don't even know, like, I would love to meet people in person who are conscious and who are looking for whatever, like, even if they're just looking for hookup, but it's like, going out in public feels like a heightened version of what online is too now, where it's just like everyone has that glaze over their eyes of like swipe like in person. It doesn't feel like people desire connect. I think like the main thing I'm feeling in this conversation is like a lack of connection. And so it's like whether you're in person or online, I feel like that lack of connection or like that confusion of what connection is and really what it entails, you know, like what you're saying, like there's no perfect person. Even the people that are like lovey-dovey on social media, you know, like they also deal with shit together. Like, and like we don't see that as much. But it's there and it takes commitment, it takes things. And so it's like, but even in hooking up, I feel like that there's nothing to like latch onto or connect to. Like I haven't fallen in romantic love in sex in so long because of that lack of connection or that hookup culture. Whereas I used to fall in love all the time. And whether that's like maturity, inner growth, me knowing what I want, I don't know. Right. But at the same time, it's like, I love that if I had that opportunity, girl would fall in love. And like I haven't fallen in love like that in so long because everyone's like
this. I've never, because I think all of my life or like conscious life has been in this environment, this like hookup culture.
I mean, I would consider you to be quite conscious as well, which like I think having a level of consciousness and like this wisdom that I think you have, it like already creates this like awkward connection, or no, sorry, not connection. It's awkward like discourse between people in general. Like I would say the majority of people, which is weird to me because like all of our friends are all like conscious, I would say, or most of our friends, you know, your circle is like conscious. You forget that a lot of the world isn't conscious. So it's like, it already creates that, but then it's like sad for me being like, you're in your 20s. Like this is the time when it's like that, like reckless love. And you're not the only one saying this. Like I also have other friends who are all over the world too, like in like Europe saying the same thing. And I'm thinking back to my early 20s being like, girl was falling in love every second. And like, we were connecting, we were like spending 4 days together. We would leave our plans and people to be together, even though we knew it was like, we weren't going to be together. Right. Or it like created this lasting thing of like, let's get married, you know, like we wanted that love and like, no one wants that love. And like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I will say arguably on my end, I don't leave the house or do anything. So I'm not meeting people. Like, it's not like I'm actually making an effort, but at the same time, it's like,
yeah, but what effort exactly? And I'm putting an effort and it's exhausting me. So it's like who's wrong or right? Nobody, right? Like we're both just stepping in the way that we feel we can or that we're trying to. Like all you can do is be your best self in every moment that you have, right? And so it's like, yeah, but it's just like, I don't know. I feel sad for myself too. I feel sad for you. I feel sad for my friends. I feel sad for so many of us that are like, where's the love? Like, and getting their heart broken. I think people are scared to get their heart broken and they're scared to love. They're scared to be seen. They're scared of a lot of things. They're scared of connection. But it's like having your heart broken is not the end of the world. And it really teaches you a lot. And I think that we're like, where is that opportunity for that growth, those learnings? To see that you gave everything to that person and you need to maybe like not give so much, you know, like where are those lessons? They're not happening. So it's like, how are relationships like this supposed to like form on this concept of hookup culture? Because people want to be with people, not everyone, but like
generally speaking, I mean, that's why where hookup culture came from was like the easy access to someone in some sense.
Right. So anyone even entering into hookup culture wants some sort of connection, but they just don't know how anymore. So they're just like pumping their dick in and pumping their badge on or in, and like that's it, you know,
doing it,
and then being like, "Who are you?
What's your name again?"
Yeah, I mean, one time I had sex with this guy for 3 days, and we were like literally staying together, and I couldn't remember his name.
Oh my god!
And then after the 3rd day, waking up, he was like, "You don't know my name, do you?" I was like, "No."
Oh my god. That's funny.
But like we were the ones that fell in love and we met sandwiches together.
Well, I did it too when you like meet someone online and then you like go to meet them in person and you don't actually like properly introduce yourself. I think that's really weird because I'm like, yes, I know who you are and yes, I know what your name is, but like you haven't told me that directly.
Yeah.
Like I just know from online.
And there's like an expectation too. Like I find like if you're on dating apps or if you're like talking to people online, like there is a level of stuff that you don't take in because you're not talking to them in person. So you like go sit down and they like expect you to have all the information that they said or that was said or that's on their profile. And you're like, but I was just swiping, dude. We got TUP, like, you know.
Right. Or like I even like to reiterate things that we like messaged about just to be like, oh, okay, cool. Or like,
yeah,
I don't know. I just feel like it's also this weird thing of like, yes, that did happen, but also it's online. So like, what does it mean?
right.
You know, at the same time, I don't know.
Let's talk about it here.
Well, yeah, because I feel like I also grew up like right before all the social media stuff came out. So that was like when I was super young, but it was like I remember that time of like calling my friends on like our home phone and stuff. And then going into like middle school and high school with like all these social media platforms. So I think I'm still like a little bit also like I can't just do something online and then be okay with it in person. Like I still need that, I don't know, like that intermix of the two, where I think maybe even like younger generations than me who have solely grown up online maybe are more comfortable with that in a different way. But
maybe it's just like, I feel like it's just like a bunch of people flapping around with no desire for connection or no like ability to connect.
Right.
It's a mess.
Yeah. And I don't even know like how we go about, you know, making it better. Like what even is there to do? A lot, but
when you're with like strangers, stare at them into their soul and say, connect with me. Just kidding.
I mean, you could, but you might have a night in jail or something.
You know, that was worth it. Just kidding.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh my gosh. I wanted to ask something too, like on social media. And, you know, I feel like things in social media are moving towards more of like a real, authentic, right? Even though like you have to question now, everyone's been like, I'm authentic, I'm real. It's like, do you think that we still get caught up in the fantasy of online and like what's portrayed online versus what happens in real life? I think you've alluded to this, but like, do you feel that that's still very prevalent? Like that we get caught up in this fantasy of what everyone's posting.
Right. Well, yeah, I think fantasy is always better than reality. I mean, social media is also created as like entertainment or like escapism, but at the same time, it's also an example of us. But it's even and more authentic, yes, now where people actually share stuff that's happened to them, but not everybody does still. Like it's still a slim percentage of people. So I think yes. I also would say like sometimes with media, like it's a great way to get a gist for somebody, but then you can't use like it has to just be like a ish thing, because you can't use everything you see as an actual example of who they are, because that never was actually like the whole picture. So I think sometimes we do, especially too, like thinking of like influencer culture and celebrities and all that stuff, we, you know, put them on pedestals, or we're like, oh my god, I really like this person, or I really connect with them, and we've never actually like looked them in the eyes and had a conversation and actually like figured out if that's true. So I think it's still one of those things. I think it depends honestly like what you're looking at and what kind of content you're intaking, because some stuff I find is super authentic, and I've seen a lot of stuff come up that I'm like, wow, I really resonate with that and that feels real. But at the same time, there's like that complete other side where it's so fake. There's, you know, there's a little bit of stuff added to it, or it was cut together in a certain way. And I think the lines are blurred these days of like discretion is harder because you don't know. And I think some people are willing to just fall into it and believe it, instead of actually like questioning intention. Because even like fake authenticity, some people can be like, I'm trying to say this, and they can say it but not mean it. Or there's a lot of people who are not real in that regard. So it's tricky. It's a crazy world, and we consume content too that is like Tinder swindler, where it's like people faking stuff and all these different things that are also fraudulent. And so it's like, what is real, what isn't real, who fucking
literally so I hooked up with this one famous guy in LA, and I had no fucking idea who this kid was. He was 21. I should not say kid, but yeah, we made sure he was 21. I'm 36. What are you gonna do? But anyways, like I ended up, because I found out that he was like famous or something. So I texted my friend in the morning who like knows all the cases. It wasn't you actually.
Yeah,
which is so interesting. What the fuck? Yeah, but I texted one of my friends and I was like, do you know who this person is? And she's like, oh my God, yeah, but he has a girlfriend. And I was like, well, if he has a girlfriend, we just fucked. Like, and real good. And he picked me up. Like, he was the instigator. And like, I find out that, you know, through talking to him and looking online, that like he's basically in a contract to be in a relationship, whereas this guy's dick has been everywhere, like, and everyone, you know, and like that's great, but it's like that's the thing is like I was like looking online after being like everyone believes this relationship and it's still going, like it's still going online, their relationship, and like there's been like anyways whatever, and I'm just like, but that's the thing is like what's real, what's not, like and like I don't know, obviously like, you know, through going through that, and like I think like you have good spidey senses, so do I, so it's like we can tell when this happens, but also but if you can't,
yeah, I don't think in that scenario, like after when you showed me like his Instagram and stuff and seeing that, I would have believed it, like it seemed believable in some sense, you know, so it's like it also shows how like do we really know? No, we don't know what's going on. And it's crazy, like that's wild, because I definitely I would say like I'm pretty good radar at that and couldn't tell.
Like props to you, and maybe they'll end up together someday, sure, but like damn, like
crazy,
like so wild. I think like one thing you asked, or like as a rhetorical question, but like a question is like that keeps going through, and you kind of just hinted at it again, is like how the hell are we supposed to connect to anything in this, you know, or like we're alluded to that. And it's like, yeah, so okay, so if we're here and we're talking about that, like what is like how do we connect or find connection? I think I have some feelings about it, but does anything come up for you? Like how do we connect or find connection in such a world right now that like fucking avoids it and pushes it away?
Yeah, I don't freaking know. I mean, obviously I don't participate at all, so clearly like that's just been my reaction to everything of like, well, I'll just figure it out. And I think I too like am leaning just on the thing where I'm like, oh, like I'll find my partner or whatever in the future, like when like my career is more put together and I'm in a circle of people that relates more to me and all these things. So that's kind of where my mindset goes for me. But yeah, in this day and age, I don't know. Like that's the hard part of and finding people too who want the same thing without it being weird or without I feel like I'm so guarded behind like being soft and you know all these stuff because it's not popular right now,
right? Which is like sad because it's like that to me is the popular thing of like having human connection and wanting that. And so I think like I was thinking actually when you were saying, you know, it's ultimately like from my perspective too, and what I was thinking even before you said that is like if we just show up as ourselves in every moment and we kind of walk in with like no expectations, but we know, you know what you want, you know what you desire, you know what's right for you, you know what's enough, what's not enough. Like I feel like if you just like enter into day-to-day life with that sense of like directness and like confidence in what you want and kind of just like witnessing yourself as you're moving through this lack of connection and just not connecting with it as well. Well, then that's like doing it to a disservice, but whatever. But like connecting, what I should say is connecting with people that are wanting to connect. And it might take time and it might be a little bit like, for me, it's frustrating. And like, I'm literally like, who the hell? But it's like, no, if you're with yourself and you're authentic with yourself and you are wanting connection, then like just wait it out and like be yourself and the things will come to you and you will see the people that will want connection in time. And it might be few and far between, but it's out there. So it's like, you know, if you want that connection, it is out there. It's just a matter of like weeding out and letting all the other crap kind of like go and focusing on what you want and finding people who want the same thing, which like, does take work. And it's frustrating when it's not there. Cause like, I'd say it's not here. Hello, like, where are you? You know, but I think like if you just stick to it and you know deep down that's what you want, I think that it'll come to you.
Right. Yeah. Well, I feel like too there is an argument of I think if it's not happening right now, like there also means like there's like internal work that needs to be worked on and also just acceptance of being alone. And I feel like even with society, I think we've turned a little bit more in the direction where it's okay, where for a while it was like weird or strange if you were single. And I feel like people are more accepting of that now just because of the lack of connection and all these different elements. And so I also, you know, I guess like push back on that and be like, if that's not happening to you now, like what a good time to work on yourself. And I think we can always improve ourselves so that when we are engaging in relationships, there's more, we're not, you know, creating more of a mess, you know? And so I think that's also, for me, I think especially like I've been concentrating on that for myself. And I think that has been fulfilling, and figuring out again, yeah, the things that I like and the things I don't like, and pushing myself in the right direction so that I am around people that I would align with, instead of conforming and finding somebody just because I have a need for that. And so it is really this like expansion and this time of self-discovery. And so I think that for me is like what I've been, which makes it all okay in the end for me, of like, sure, I would love to be like casually dating people or like having more connection in just overall, but I also think that also then I can look inside and kind of figure out what I need to work on and be better at, so that I can be a better person when those relationships come around.
Which I think that's a really great point. Like, it's an opportunity to be with self. And I think even talking about hookup culture and stuff with that disconnect, it's like, yeah, that does give you opportunity to go in. And I think that you touched on a lot of really great things with what you were just talking about, is like, being single is actually really beautiful, and it can be really fulfilling. And like, you can find the relationships that uplift you, right? And then if you have needs, go get them like met, however you need to, but like focusing on yourself and focusing on how to develop love for self and how to develop love for the things that you're doing and things that, you know, feel good or don't feel good. And that, you're right. Like, it's like, that's such an opportunity. And so if you're listening, it's an opportunity for you to go inward and feel amazing about yourself. And then it just aligns from there.
Right. And not to say that like you're not valid for also like wanting relationship and connection.
Yeah. So many
like,
things, all things can happen.
You know, it's a good way to, yeah.
Yeah. It's either it's perspective, right? It's that, but yes, exactly. Like, desiring relationship, there's nothing wrong with you, and being single, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just a matter of like, what's given to you in this moment. How can you reflect inwards? And once you step into relationship, there's also going to be like as much inner work as you do alone. When you step into relationship, like, it's a new beginning. You know, other people are going to trigger something or be their own version of themselves, which is great. And you're like, oh, wow, it's like a whole new navigation system. So the more you know yourself, the better equipped you will be. I'm not going to say you're going to be perfect going into a relationship, but you're going to be better equipped to like, be like, okay, you know, so yeah.
Thank you.
So, okay, so hookup culture is there, it's real, and lack of connection is real.
Yeah.
So connect with yourself and connect with people, you know, that you love, you know, and we're here with you as well. If you're like, you know, if you need anything, and reach out if you want some love, join the community.
Okay, cute.
Okay.
That was a cute close. Okay, bye. Bye.